Multiband compression is one of the most important paths to a great mix. Essentially, it's a compressor that allows you to affect the lows, highs, and mids all individually. I'm going to show you how I use multiband compression to get individual tracks to dance and sound even. These techniques will work with any DAW and any multiband compressor you have. So a regular compressor is going to compress the entire frequency range of the instrument or track that you're working on. What's great about multiband is you could focus in on certain frequency ranges. You can do just the low end, just the high end, just the mids, really any frequency that you'd like. So let's add a multiband compressor to the bass. And let's just target the low frequencies. So we'll bypass all the other frequencies. So let's take it down a little bit more, just to maybe about a dB and a half. So you could hear there that the low end is starting to move a lot more. We're starting to get a little bit more excitement out of the bass and a little bit more dance, which is exactly what we're looking for. It's also at the same time controlling some of those low end frequencies, so we're not getting too much or too little at certain instances. So we can apply this same idea of multiband compression to high end instruments as well. Let's take a look at the hi-hat. So let's solo the high end here, get to about 8K. The goal here is to tame the very high end of the hi-hat so it's not too harsh. Again, we'll speed up the attack so the reaction is right away. Go drastic. You can hear right away that's taming a lot of that high end, a lot less harsh. So we'll bring it into a better spot. A little much, we'll back off a little bit. And you can hear how that's taming a lot of those high frequencies. And sometimes what's nice is to actually add them back in after they've been tamed, and we'll target around that same frequency range, maybe about 10K, and bring some of that back. Let's hear it with the track. That's without. And you can immediately hear that we're taming those high-end frequencies without losing too much of it and allowing that hi-hat to actually dance and move and groove a little bit more with the song. And then we're able to bring back some of that more crystal clear high-end that's a little bit smoother with the pole tech that gives us a brand new flavor for the hi-hat. So let's apply that same concept of multiband to these little vocal chops. We'll solo them as is. So we'll try to find a way to add more movement to the mids, maybe the whole entire mid spectrum, the lower mids and the higher mids. Maybe take a little bit from the top end that we don't need some of that sizzle. So let's listen to only the high end for a second here. A lot of unwanted stuff here, so we could subtract some of that. Let's add in some mids. And you can hear right away that it feels a little bit cleaner and a little bit more exciting. Let's see how it sounds with the rest of the track. You can hear how it actually gave it a little bit more body too. It feels a lot more put together. So there we saw some multi-band compression techniques that are affecting the low end with the bass, the high end with the hi-hat, the mid-range with the vocal chops and synths. And this is a great way to create movement and control for your individual instruments and allow them to dance and work well with each other.